I'm finally getting around to making the table. I've got these blanks glued up. You guys have seen me do that before. I'll try to find a video to link it where I do like a full tutorial on how I do these legs. But sometimes it's easier to glue something up to get the size you need than to just go get a big huge log and trim it up and cut it. And sometimes, to be honest with you, it's better for the wood, because if you use smaller pieces and glue them together, you're less likely to get splitting in the wood when the center of like a big 8-inch square blank dries out on you or something. I've had that happen. It's not fun. You get done turning something and then you come back in here a day later and it's got a big crack down the center of it. I'm going to breeze over the first part of this build, mostly because it's turning the legs and you guys have seen me do that before. And what I really want to get to is the finish work, so I can show you how I make this new build table look more like an old farmhouse table, like someone dug it out of a barn. I've got these 3 cottonwood planks that I milled. They're full dimension 2 inches by 13 inches by 9 feet. I cut these trees down about a year ago, and my dad brought his sawmill up from Texas this summer. He and my brother helped me mill this log into the planks that I used for the tabletop. I'm using these 5/16 by 3-inch hanger bolts to run these down. They're going to go into the leg here and be embedded into the leg. And then I'm using a 1/4-inch bit to pre-drill that so that I don't split my wood out when I just try to run a 3/8 bolt down in. Easiest way I found to run these hanger bolts in is just get my vice grips and clamp it down pretty tight so that it doesn't slip. And then just start turning it in. There are a few high spots on this. It's been sitting out and the sun got it a little bit before I get it covered up. So I'm just going to take out some of these warps. I'm using my hand plane or bench plane, and it may be a little bit more work, but I really like the effect and the result that I get with this. Alright, so I've got it to a point where it's mostly flat. I'm going to start sanding it. It's got some raised fibers. I don't want to sand it so far that I get rid of some of these saw marks from where we milled it. We want to leave those in there. Once I get most of these fibers, these little hairs that are standing up, off of there, then I'm going to go ahead and start doing the scraping method everywhere where it got smooth, where I planed it, and I'll show you how I do that. It's pretty simple. One of the things I'm doing with the sander, I've got 60 grit on there right now, is I'm rounding these edges off. I'm not leaving them real crisp, because an old time table, an old farmhouse table, is going to be pretty worn and beat up. It's not going to have square edges. The tabletop is sanded down pretty well. It's really smooth. I've been able to leave a few of the mill marks in there, And some of these big gouges, I haven't decided if I'm gonna fill these with resin or not. I've left it pretty rustic and I'm okay with that. That's the look we're going for. So I'm gonna give it a few more age details, and weapon of choice on this is just a good old claw hammer. So every now and then I'm just kind of going along, and it's just putting these little tiny grooves in there. You can kind of see them just like the little hit marks, and you want to flip it every now and then. And this may not be for everybody. Not everybody's gonna love this, but we want the really old aged look. I've done real pretty nice pristine tabletops, and I've done really aged ones, and we're going for that old farmhouse table. What it's gonna do is it's gonna give the stain little creases somewhere to go, and that's gonna make little darker points and make it really look like it's been around for 100 years. Final tool I'm gonna use on this tabletop, now that I've put some dings and divots in it, is this wire brush. And what this is gonna do is any kind of soft spots in the grain, it's gonna remove those and leave the harder grain so that it actually looks like it's aged. You know how an old cedar fence gets really veiny almost? You can see all the individual raised grains. That's what this does, but pretty quick. All I'm doing is I'm gonna take an area and I'm just gonna push down and scrape back and forth. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera very well, but it's essentially given me that really old raised grain look. It's gone from being really smooth and almost soft to kind of having little ridges all over. Now when I seal that, you're not going to really feel them, but you'll be able to see them. I've got some of that grain to pop out, and that's what this is doing. Some of it's not doing it, but some of it is. And then I'll just come back with some 220 real light to smooth that out, but it'll still leave the grain removal and I'll get that cool look. This is more of that milk stain that we've been using, that water-based stain. It doesn't have a name for this color yet. We're waiting on that from the manufacturer. This is a prototype, basically. We're hoping it's on our website in the next few days. It's getting close, so keep your fingers crossed. As soon as it goes live on our website, we will be sure to let you know and let you know what color we've been using, because this is the same color we've been using on the floor. Alright, and here goes. We'll see if this brings out any of that detail. Oh. We want it to stay nice and light, so that's what we're hoping it does. Oh. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera. All these little places where I left the imperfections or added imperfections are really showing up nice and dark.
I'm using my 2-inch Palm Pro and the DIY Big Top. Both you can get at jamirayvintage.com. The Big Top is nice because it has no solvents. Let me mix this up a little bit in here. It has no solvents in it, and it doesn't like smell, and it's not gonna, if you have like weak lungs or anything like that, it's not gonna bother you. And it's got no VOCs, it's water-based, so it's easy to clean. We'll probably wind up using the foam brush on the top, but these legs have a lot of detail and it would just tear up the foam brush. We left them kind of rough, so that way it would look old. But this will get down into the cracks and crevices, and it's kind of like easy to hold.
It's got like a pistol grip on it.
Yeah, if you're especially if you're painting something with like, you don't have a lot of room for a big handle, if you don't feel like cutting the handle off. This is a good one.
And that particular brush is chiseled, so it's really good for cutting in the way you can hold it.
Yeah, I think this one and my other like long handled chisel are probably our least expensive brushes, but they're pretty handy and you can do a lot of different things with them. So dry time is about 15 minutes, 2 hours is how long you'll want to wait in between coats. And you're going to want to give it at least 48 hours before you use the table, and just be gentle for about a week. And I'm going to do 2 coats on the legs, and then I'll probably do 4 coats, well, 3 or 4 coats on the top, depending. I don't want it to be too shiny. This is like a nice moderate between a matte and a satin finish, so it's not going to make it super shiny. So we tried the foam brush, but this top is pretty rustic, and it was just kind of like tearing it up. So I'm just going to use my Palm Pro brush. The nice thing about the big top is it is self-leveling. So you're really, especially on this kind of an application, you're not gonna get any brush strokes in your finish. And we'll probably buff it once we get all the coats on there. We decided, well, I decided, it was either update the legs or get a rug. And Zeb really doesn't want a rug because with 5 kids, it's kind of a mess. So we're gonna try this, and if I still don't like it, I may still buy a rug, who knows. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take my wax brush. This is new on our website. It's got a nice big thick wood handle, which I love, and it's got synthetic bristles, really easy to clean. And then we're using the DIY white wax. And we're just coming through and lightly waxing it. This helps provide some contrast between the table and the wood floors, and also, like, because we used cottonwood on the top and pine on the bottom, we had like a little bit different in stain. So this just kind of makes it look a little bit more intentional, and you can see that I'm rubbing back and getting some of that wood grain pattern, which is really beautiful. And it was important to Zeb, he wanted to see the wood grain. And we did already seal this, so I think if you didn't have a coat of sealer on it, more of the wax would penetrate. So I think it's important to give it 1 coat of sealer and then do the wax on top, which also offers some extra protection. And you could go ahead and clear wax this over the top or whatever if you wanted to. And I've got my 220 sandpaper. Just pulling off some of the wax. So it gives it kind of an aged effect, lightens it up, and it's gonna give some great contrast.
Table's done. Got it knocked out the other day. Top turned out awesome. The legs are pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to paint them yet though.
She tried white waxing them because the stain took a little bit differently on the pine, and then you saw in the video she white waxed them, and then we're still not necessarily in love with that. It wasn't enough of a contrast between the floor and the top and the table, or in the legs. So
follow me on Instagram and you'll see when it happens, because I'll probably post a picture. But the top is amazing, and I actually love the bottom, and maybe once I get the chairs in and get it all done, I'll like it, or maybe I'll buy a rug even though he doesn't want to.
I just, you know, we had a bamboo rug before, and it was great because you could sweep it and mop it just like the rest of everything. I feel like a fabric rug will just collect all the food that Jack spills.
All right, so I love it. I think it's gonna last us for a long time, or at least 2 years before we decorate.
If it lasts 6 months, I'll be surprised.
Our last table we had for 1.5 years.
I'm just saying, the pew doesn't slide under like she wanted because she wanted this big apron on it.
I think it slides under fine. I was never planning on having it slide in under all the way.
All right.
It's far enough out that the kids can just hop over the side, or they can go underneath and get into it.
Yeah.
Without having to push it
and
back.
And it can scooch back too. I mean, it slides pretty easy on the floor.
And you can fit a lot of bums on it, which is important for when cousins come over.
Yeah, we could fit like 8 kids on this bench.
And we discovered this morning that this crack here, this knot, goes all the way through because Jack spilled his milk and it went to the bottom.
Oh, I'll have to resin it. I'll put some resin in there.
All right, I hope you guys like this video. We're hoping to have this milk stain out any day now. If you're watching this video a month from now, it's probably already out. So go by JamiRayVintage.com. You can check out our wax brush and the white wax that we used, and eventually the milk stain that we got going on. Be sure to hit the subscribe and notifications and give us a thumbs up. Do you know that you've had that beanie? How long? Did you have that beanie when we met?
Abe got it for me for Christmas when I was 16.
I think we have the picture somewhere of, well, that eyebrow hair is really long.
Don't touch it. Just do the sign out.
It's like 2 inches long. Anyways.
I don't want to edit all it.